Listen closely. Here is an example of the Astros banging on the trash can during a game to let the batter know the next pitch was off speed. Courtesy Fox, Fox Sports, MLB, and CFB and 30.
The 2-1. Line shot. That's a.
What's good? This is a brand new podcast out on the limb. I'm here with Dylan Mel, Cam Ongst, and Darian Hurricane again. You may recognize him from the famous Bachelor episode that's going to blow up once I post that. But I don't know if anyone knows what that means, but it's today's topic is about the Astros and their whole cheating scandal. It was a little stupid joke I did. But yeah, so anyway, so this is kind of crazy. I know you guys have a little knowledge about, and want to talk about this. So that's why you guys are on this episode. Darian is a former D1 baseball player. He played at Binghamton, like he introduced himself earlier. Darian, what position did you play?
I was an outfielder, mainly left field.
Okay. And then Cam played baseball his whole life, is still playing, and he's also a state college coach as well as Darian. I didn't mention that, but Cam, what position did you play?
I played a lot of catcher, first base, outfield, pitched here and there. Not great, but it's getting better right at them.
Yeah. Cam and I put a lot of work in since last summer when we met each other.
But yeah, this is my first official paid year coaching. I've coached a ton. I've coached little league teams, a lot of summer teams. I've done during my student teaching, I coached the baseball team in Altoona, which is like 45 minutes away from State College. So yeah, got a decent amount of coaching experience there.
That's awesome, dude. And then obviously you guys are canceled this season, which obviously sucks. But
not great.
And it was your first year. Darren, was your second year, right?
No, this is my third year.
Or third year, I'm sorry. And then Dylan, you're a sports broadcaster, and did you play any baseball? Correct me if I'm wrong. I wasn't positive.
No, I played a couple games of wiffle ball in backyards before. But
he was a ball. He was a baller back in the day.
Yeah. Nothing serious with you guys, but avid fan.
And then for anyone who doesn't know me, like I said, I played baseball my whole life. I'm still kind of playing with Cam. We still play and see what happens. But I'm an outfielder and left-handed pitcher. So anyway, before we start this Astros Cheating Scandal episode, like I start all my podcast, name a song of the day. I honestly don't even know. I'm going to think of one while you guys say something.
I was just singing 745 by Vince Staples right before you started recording, so I'm going to pick that one.
I'm gonna pick. It's called Renee's Song. It's by Bazzi. It's one of his newer ones. It's a pretty good song.
Great song.
I'm gonna go with Turks by Nav with Travis Scott.
Okay. You know what? You said I was gonna say Token No Service. That's just guy uses some cool lyrics. But I'll name another song in my other episodes. But anyway, when this whole Astros scandal first kind of popped up, what was your initial reactions to all this? I'm curious, just as a sports broadcaster and other baseball players, like kind of what was your reaction to all this?
I mean,
anyone could start.
Reaction was as a fan of the Yankees, and I was not happy because this was like now it came out that it was this year, and I thought that our team was built to go to the World Series. Then we lost to the Astros. I was like, I was so worried about them. They've been so good all year, and they had home field advantage. And then I was like, they played so great at home all year. And then I'm like, okay, makes sense.
That's why. How about Cam or Darian?
I'll let the Yankee fan go first.
Initially, I was kind of just thrown back by it. It's just something you don't really hear about in sports too much, just the fact that teams are cheating. Me, myself, being a Yankees fan, I was pretty pissed. Wasn't too happy. Obviously that started in 2017. That's and up until now, there's endless possibilities that could have happened with, if that weren't to happen. So, but being a baseball player myself, like that's a big no-no. That's like an unwritten rule. Obviously, there's things like you can do in the game, to pick up signs and stuff like that, but that's not like considered cheating. That's just paying attention to the game. But taking things, into your own hands and, taking it off the field and then putting it onto the field like that, that's a big no-no.
Yeah. And then Cam.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like, I was taken back too. I was like, are you kidding me? Like, because I think before the story really broke, the first thing I saw was the guy. There was one guy that was posting stuff on Twitter. He was posting stuff on Twitter, and it was getting a little momentum, and it was the clear, like, banging of stuff in the dugout. Like, and I was watching this stuff, and I was like, dude, this is like, the trash can. And I'm just like, I was sitting there, and I think this was when the article in The Athletic had come out. And so this other guy, I don't know who it was, but he was posting all this stuff, and I'm watching this on Twitter. I'm like, yo, like, this is going to be horrible. Like, the Astros are going to get so screwed after this. Like, and they kind of did, but not. We'll talk about that. But.
Well, I mean, it's just crazy to me because, like, I mean, you don't think about that. Like Darian said, like, you pick up signs during the game, and that's just paying attention to the game. And there were so many thoughts even rushing through my mind when this went through, but I don't know. I didn't know if I was thinking like, oh, maybe it's just skill, like, it's thinking outside the box and something different. But then the more you read into it, I'm like, dude, this is like not cool at all. Like, that's not something you should be doing. But yeah, so like when this initially came out, the pitcher, it was Mike Fears who brought it out, and like anyone who doesn't really know him is like, he's a pitcher obviously, and like I just said, but he was on that team. And he didn't report it at that point. But then as it came along in November of 2019, so just a couple months ago, that's when he kind of, he's off the team now, is on a different team. So then he thought it was okay to just say that, like, right out. And, like, I don't know, I have an opinion on that, but I want to listen to your guys. Like, what do you think of him finally, almost 2 years after the fact? Like, what do you think of him coming out with this right now?
I mean, I don't know how long he'd been away from the Astros, but you almost have to wonder if that was like a little part of it. Like, oh, you guys don't want me around anymore? Like, cool, bet. Like, you're not going to keep winning like this then. But I think, the whole team.
I think he was off the team after 17, right?
Yeah, he was off the team after 17, and I think he switched to 2 teams. I'm not positive on that, but I know he's on a different team.
I think the main thought, even just around like Major League Baseball, is just the fact that it's like you won a championship with them, but now you're just going to go ahead and do this because why? Like, what's your motivation? Like, just to get it off your chest to make you feel better about yourself? Like, yeah, you might not have been a part of it, and it might only been a few guys, but it's like, there's still like a brotherhood within baseball. It's like anything you really kind of have kind of a part of as a community. And I think that, going and being a whistleblower through like The Athletic, like if you're really going to do that, like why not take it to Major League Baseball? Like, I don't know. There's just so much that I think, it is what it is now. He did it. But I think he probably lost a lot of respect for a lot of the people that are in Major League Baseball after that.
Easily.
Big reason he went to The Athletic is they offered to pay him for the story.
Okay.
That's interesting. That's even more interesting. I feel like that's worse now.
I'm just saying, like, the NFL wasn't going to give him any compensation for admitting to cheating, but The Athletic certainly will take the publicity and pay for it.
Yeah, no, they got a lot of it because that's a paid service too. So yeah, they got a lot of publicity out of that.
I still give him props for like just doing it. To be honest, like it was probably a hard decision on his part, but
I'm with you. I'm totally with you.
At the same time, like, you should have done it sooner. You should have done it.
Right? Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And like this guy, like you got to give him props because like obviously he had some big kahunas to do that. Like after all this happened, but like because like this team like literally went from nothing. Then they were in a Sports Illustrated magazine saying they're like the next big thing. Won the World Series when it was predicted, and then like now they're on this run, and there's so many respectable players on that team that like just everything just got cut from that. Like Jose Altuve, George Springer, like Carlos Correa, like all these guys are just absolute monster studs, and then this happened, and it just I don't know. It's just super not cool. But I mean, you do got to give Mike Fears like the props for finally coming out with that. But like the fact that it was even kept this long, it just blows my mind. Like it makes me think like what other teams possibly have been doing throughout the years and not gotten caught with it, or no one said a word. But like someone like I don't know if you guys all know who Mike Clevenger is. He's a Indians pitcher, one of my top pitchers in the league. I love this guy, but I'm not sure if you guys had the chance to see him absolutely just rip into them. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on that.
Oh, yeah, I follow him on Twitter. Yeah, I see it all the time.
Well, I follow Marcus Stroman, and he's the one that I saw a lot of his opinions on it. He would tweet a lot of things, like tweet videos, and he'd be like, I couldn't. He was like, if there was one game where he's pitching at home or at the Astros, and he was throwing all these dirty sliders, and they just weren't swinging. He was like, that's some of my best stuff most of the time. Like that year, I think he had one of the what was it, 1.36 ERA.
That was his best year,
the second half. Yeah, one of his best years. And against the Astros, he just got ripped apart every time, and that clearly shows why.
Yeah, like as a pitcher, you must be like everyone that plays the game is upset, but if you're a pitcher that had to pitch against them, I feel like it's just another level of like upset, because you're like, I like work my whole life to get my craft down to be this good, and then I go in, I'm facing a good team, and like I know that I got stuff that I can deal, but like they know everything that's coming, so like I'm almost like playing an unwinnable game.
I think that one thing that I really would have liked to see this year, if the season, even if it still happens, I would like to see how they treat them after all of this, because I think the funniest moment from spring training from this year was when Trevor Bauer was on the mound for the Reds, and he just yelled fastball at fastball at one of the Astros hitter real loud, and still strikes him out. I think it was George Springer, if I'm not mistaken, but that was I remember during our preseason workouts for baseball, Darian and I, every time we would talk, we would be like, the over under for how many Astros guys get hit this year it was over 85 at one point, right?
Yeah, yep.
It was close to almost 90. So I would have loved. I don't know. I just wish this season would still happen. So because I want to see how the league reacts to that, but at this point, I think guys just want to play baseball now. Have forgotten that.
One thing that
there was. Okay, go on.
One thing like I don't know if we're going to see, like especially like seems like out of the ordinary, like out of possibility, is how like if the Astros were like the away team, how the home team's fans would have reacted. Like if
especially Yankees.
Yeah, I was gonna say if they went to the Bronx, like
they were gonna go to the Bronx. They were slated to go there in June, was it not? I think it was sometime like midway through the season, and they were like they're gonna need a SWAT team at stadium because it's gonna be bad. I just think like it's just ridiculous. All the whole thing is ridiculous, but like to your point, like was this like going on somewhere else as well? And yes, it definitely was.
Yeah, and like these are topics that I definitely wanted to hit on later on in the segment, but like it's just I don't know, it just blows my mind that like the fact this happened. Like if say they did go to the Bronx, in June, like there might have been a 30 for 30 made on that because of like it's like that's a day you're not gonna forget, especially as an Astros player, and especially if you were on that 2017 team. Like there's no going back from that. Like their careers actually might be ruined. And before I hit on the next topic, I just thought of this now while I'm talking. Like, do you think this will hinder any of those like top players like Jose, George, Carlos? Do you think it's going to hinder like any of their chances for possibly maybe the Hall of Fame when they go or when it gets to that time?
I think Altuve will still get in.
I don't think it'll prevent them from getting in, but I think there'll be a little asterisk next to that name.
I think that it's kind of tough because like I would make that decision after this year based on their performance, but there's not a season right now, so we don't know. But because I know in spring training, I know a lot of guys struggle in spring training, but like both of their averages were pretty low, like in the hundreds, something like that.
I think everybody was below 220 or 210.
Yeah, everybody was below the.
It wasn't impressive.
No. Which it's spring training, so you kind of take that with a few grains of salt. Yeah.
But I think in the long run, like you can't really take away the kind of like baseball player that those guys are. Like regardless, they're elite athletes, and whether they make it to the Hall of Fame or not, they're still, amazing athletes.
Right. I agree. I mean,
yeah.
They're still. I mean, George Springer's like just a stud completely in the field, and so is Jose Altuve. Like they're both just so. I mean, you look at their defensive work too. Like they are very sound defensive players, and you take the hitting away from that, and they're still elite starters on pretty much every team in Major League Baseball.
Yeah, and you got to look at it this way. Like, I mean, although they did 100% cheat, and it's coming. At the same time, though, like. It's still not easy to hit, an MLB, pitch. Like, it's still impressive that they were able to hit it, but the fact that they knew that it was coming, obviously, that's a huge advantage to them, But, yeah, so what do you guys think about the pitcher who sued? I don't know if you guys heard about that story. That was, like a month or two ago. He was a pitcher who I forget his name. I should have looked it up. Was Michael something, but his first career start happened to be against the Astros that year, and they I think put up 8 runs against them, and then his career just got ruined. And I don't know, what do you think of that whole situation going on with that?
I don't know. Was there anything that came out after that about the lawsuit?
Not that I heard.
I think it kind of, nothing I heard of right now, but just the fact that he sued, I feel like that was a big push throughout this whole process of what's going on.
I think that, it's well deserved for him to try. It's kind of hard for them to bring evidence. There's obvious evidence that they cheated and stuff. But, I mean, the fact that he never got a chance in Major League Baseball, that kind of sucks too. But you wonder if there was something else going on too. Because if he was good enough, I think he would have gotten a chance somewhere else, right? But I don't know.
Right, and do you think the Astros killed careers in general with that? Like, that's just only one case. I don't know if there's any other cases, but
there are.
I feel like
I know that other major league players have come out and said, looking back at it, that situation now, they definitely killed some careers. I can't name anyone other than the one that you mentioned, but there have definitely been cases where different MLB players have said, hey, thinking back, we played the Astros and, they did well against our pitching, and then that was a young guy that then just got sent back down to AAA or AA. So, yeah, I think there was definitely some of that going on as well.
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned this earlier, especially if you're a pitcher, you work so hard. And like that guy that you're talking about, you work so hard and you finally get to the major leagues. And you're already the Astros are a tough enough team to play. Because I don't think anybody thinks that those guys aren't talented if they weren't cheating. But now you're playing these talented guys and they're cheating and you just get obliterated. And then everything's on the down spiral from there. I don't know what he hopes to get out of the lawsuit. I mean, I'm assuming
probably money.
Yeah, some form of financial compensation, but his career is just never going to be the same.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so in terms of the punishment we're getting to, the Astros were stripped of 4 high draft picks as well as getting a $5 million fine. Do you guys think that was enough, or do you think there should have been more?
Definitely should have been more.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if there's a max fine in the MLB, but 5.
That was it. That was the max.
Okay, so that makes sense then. Maybe more, because it's really hard to strip a title when you don't know if everybody knew, and you can't suspend the players because they got immunity. So they fired all their executives, they suspended, and then when they were eventually fired by the Astros organization, and then they took away a bunch of first-round picks. I'm not sure what more legally they could have done before the players union would have stepped in, because I saw somebody say oh, cut down player salaries, but the players union would have completely just said no, you can't go and just cut salaries because they cheated. So I'm not sure what more they could have done, but it feels like that the players being able to play all season isn't great.
Right. I think $5 million to the Astros kind of like chump change, to be honest. I mean, most teams in the MLB could write that off and it's whatever, with the exception of a couple, like team like the Pirates or something like that don't have as much money. But
go Bucks.
I still think there could have been more done to support the rest of the league, and make sure that the MLB knew that they were behind them in this.
I'll be very interested to see what happens with the Red Sox, because I know that probably around spring training, close to the end of spring training, they were talking about how the Red Sox investigation was up because Alex Cora took what he was doing there to Boston. So,
oh wow,
yeah, he was taking whatever the stuff they were doing in Houston, because he was the bench coach in 2017. So he took that, so he got in trouble as well. So I think, I agree, they, under the Players Association rules, MLBPA, that's all they could have done, is that they gave the $5 million, or they gave up the $5 million, the draft picks, but the MLBPA really fought for the players not getting suspended for cheating. So, at this point, it is what it is. I think that their punishment will come with how they're respected within the league for the rest of their careers. Because, look at it. I mean, people have been on Twitter, especially all through spring training. They were like, you guys look like crap. Apologizing. They were the worst apologies I've ever. You could not have worse.
They were all written. They were all written.
Oh yeah, they were lawyer.
100% they had to be written. Yeah.
Lawyer driven. I mean, you have to, but practice it in the mirror a couple times. Jeez, man, look a little remorseful. It's
when he was grabbing at his buzzer in his shirt, trying to do it, and he was like, "I had a really bad tattoo, and I didn't want anyone to see."
Yeah, what was that?
That's the biggest BS ever.
He didn't. Altuve didn't say that. It was Springer that told.
I saw that thing. It was the Astros GM rushing to text Altuve to go get a tattoo on his chest.
Yeah, I still would. I never really. I don't think they really ever confirmed if it was a tattoo, if there was an actual mic in there. I don't think anyone's ever going to admit to that.
No, there's no way to find if they were wearing buzzers in that. But it's you look at that pitch sequence with Chapman. There's no way he wasn't wearing one. You can't tell me that a guy can completely guess between a 100-mile-per-hour fastball and an 89-mile-per-hour slider and absolutely crush the slider
monster. Yeah,
that was
unless you're going up there saying I'm only swinging at a slider. That's it. That's the only way for you to.
Why would you say that?
Right.
And that does happen. You do go in games expecting oh, I'm only going to swing as fastballs this game, or you have a game plan when you approach it. So I mean that could be a possibility, but I don't know. I just I feel
few and far between.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%. And I don't know, I just the punishments, I don't know. I mean, you don't know what more they could have done, but if you were the commissioner, what would your guys' suspensions be?
I mean, if you could suspend the players, I think you'd probably take the Astros' best 3 players and maybe suspend them for the season. But assuming that we can't, based on the MLBPA, the only thing that they might have been able to do was a playoff ban for a year or two. Because I know, you could have just done that. Their record stands and all their stats stand and they get to play, but they don't mean anything in terms of winning championships because they already robbed other teams of their postseason, taken away from them type deal.
Right, and the whole purpose why I even thought about this video at first was because I saw this tweet and I told Cam about it because I was so mad when we were supposed to film this the other day. I should have fact checked it. Thank God I didn't come on here and just see it. But I saw that like it said like breaking news: Rob Manfred like he stripped them of the title and they're not allowed for postseason play until 2022. And thank God I didn't run with that because I would have looked like a complete idiot. I saw it and I think I was just so shocked that like that it happened. I was like, I didn't even think about checking it. And that's, as a journalism student, I definitely should have done that. But like, I'm curious with Cam and Darian, what you guys think. If you were a commissioner, what would you do?
If I was a commissioner for this situation and saying that like the MLBPA didn't really have kind of like that much say into what my decision, it's pretty simple for me. Your title's gone. Like that World Series is gone. Anyone that was involved in that 2017 team is suspended for half the season. And
oh, wow.
And then from then, I guess you could kind of go with some kind of money payment, I guess. But other than those first two things, I don't really see anything else you need to do.
What would you do with Altuve's MVP? Is he stripped of that?
Oh, it's definitely hard to say because I mean you gotta think they play pretty much half games at home, but then you also play half games on the road. So I mean it's kind of hard to say to take away that kind of an award individually, I guess, when the World Series is kind of like a team thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, me personally, if I think the MVP title stripping would be more logical than doing the World Series, just because the MVP is like one sole, trophy, while the World Series, that's like for the whole league type of thing. I don't know if that makes sense, but like I feel like stripping an MVP title is more of a consequence than the World Series. Cam, what do you think?
I think that it should have just come down to if they were allowed to suspend players, you just suspend at least half the year, if not, maybe even 3/4 of the year. Probably, I would say probably around half, but you suspend whoever. So Altuve, Springer, who else was the Reddick, yeah. Those guys, and then obviously the coaches. So Cora,
Bregman.
Bregman was in it too. So yeah, so you suspend all of those guys for half the year, and that's how you send the message. Because if you don't send the message, then people are still gonna get away with stuff. They're gonna find different ways to get away with stuff. So
I mean, look what they do with guys that get test positive for PEDs and HGH and stuff like that. It's like that.
Yeah,
half the year you're gone.
I don't know how you can't do that with this, but that's just Major League Baseball.
And I feel like stripping the title, if that is a good punishment, like what would happen with everything else then? Like, would you give the title back to somebody? Would you have to redo playoffs? Like, there's so many questions. Or do you just end the season with a complete, nothing? Like, that was just a wasted season.
Kind of like The Bachelor. You just there's no winner.
Well, see the difference. Oh, keep going. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, instead of like an asterisk by their title, I think the title is just an asterisk. Like nobody has it.
Well, see, the thing is between – oh, keep going. I'm sorry.
I think that's like the easiest thing to do is just say there is no winner for that year because nobody was given a fair shot.
Right, but like I feel like the difference between I can't point with The Bachelor and this is you're like to the fans who paid money throughout the whole season, to every fantasy league there who had maybe someone on their team, like there's stuff there. Like I feel like people put money into a season and help that season. Like if anything, like then that gets to the long point. Like there might be people who will be like, oh, I want my money back because now it's a wasted season. I had no point, like, and I don't know, like.
You think about all the money that we spent. You think about all the money we spent at the bar watching The Bachelor. All those beers, all that food.
Yeah, where's my money, Champs?
All those banana
I love
splits.
Champs.
No, I don't need my money back from Champs. I need my money back from Pete.
Yeah,
Pete needs to pay it out of his own money.
I think like you could go down a rabbit hole like through just everything. Like, it could go all the way down the line of all this, all the money stuff, but I think it just goes down to if you're allowed to take title. If Rob Manfred said he was willing to strip them of the title, that's it. Like, there's nothing else you can really do, like, money-wise, because, I mean, it was 2017, so.
Is there anything in any other sports where a team has been stripped of a title, and then where does it go from there? Like, I don't know anything.
Didn't it just happen in the NCAA? Didn't someone just get No, but I think it has happened in the NCAA.
I don't know. I'm trying to quick look that up.
You'd like to maybe take it in that scenario, and then kind of
I don't
look at it and then how you can apply it to this one.
Yeah, I can't find anything right off the top here of what I just typed in about stripping of titles, but
when that whole scandal happened a while back with Penn State, were they stripped of like bowl wins or something like that? I don't know if that was just talked about or if it was just.
Well, so it was all the wins. So it was the 409 wins. So those obviously include bowl games. I don't know if they specifically strip the titles. But
yeah, I don't know.
Well,
for sure.
I think but they brought all that stuff back. Like, they got all that stuff back, I'm pretty sure, right?
Right. Yeah.
Oh, Louisville. Yeah, the 2012-2013 national championship. They were.
Oh yeah, that's right.
That's what I was thinking of. Yeah, they were stripped of the title because of the whole Patino stuff with the strippers and all that stuff.
So then,
I forgot about that.
So then, what does that title say for that year? Does it just say?
I think.
Okay, who did they play that year? I don't even remember. Obviously, I don't think it went to that school, but.
No, I think it probably just went as like null and void, especially because it was that far back.
Right.
Let me look.
Yeah, and
I think it's something you can apply to this. I think you just say it's null and void. Yeah, it happened.
This is from the NCAA website. So it's a list of all of the different champions, and there's an asterisk next to the Louisville one. So they list Louisville, but there's an asterisk next to it, so that means it was stripped. And,
so that's what would happen to the MLB season.
And I'm fine with that.
At the bottom, it says Louisville's participation in the 2013 tournament was later vacated by the Committee on Infractions. So it would be relatively the same. So sure, you can list them and say they won the tournament, but it's vacated. So
so there's no statistical proof. I mean, but like it's like it happened, but they're like it's kind of taken away in a way.
It's just for people to feel better about themselves at this point. Like, there is no specific meaning, I think, like in the sports world of taking it away. Like, either way, people are just going to know. People know about it anyways. So there's always going to be some sort of asterisk around the Astros run of 2017 to 2019. So I think people are always going to think about that and talk about it like we are now. But there's even if they put an asterisk next to it, it's like, okay, like what's the point? Like, you're making people feel better, but then you're just going to piss more people off. So there's no
correct way to do it, I think.
Right. Well, to the two Yankees fans in here, like, would you want, like, I don't know, what would you say? Say they stripped them, and would you be like, oh, the Yankees would have been there? Yeah, they didn't cheat. What are you guys thinking?
I mean, it'd be great to think that, but like you can't say that would be the case, and like you can't replay it because all these players are 2 to 3 years older now and have dealt with like injuries, and they're all on different teams. So what are you gonna do? Like switch them back? Like if you replay it, what are you like? You're gonna take Didi away from the Phillies and say you have to go play for the Yankees for like a week?
Yeah, baseball is too unpredictable to do something like that. So you would never, even in a million simulations, you'd never find the perfect outcome for that.
Yeah, I hate when people are like, replay this playoffs because this thing happened. It's like, why? Like,
well,
it'd be a waste of time.
100%. I would take it to even what you just said, Cam. Like, say that Saints game with the whole pass interference thing that went on and whatnot. Like, you got to also think like, yeah, that was a terrible moment in the game and, such a big part of the game. But think of like everything before that. Like you brought your team to that point. You know what I mean? Like there's no way that like if there was a change in the beginning of the game, that play would have never even happened. Like there's so many outcomes and possibilities that could have happened. So I guess for fans to be like, oh, we would have won that, like kind of can't. Like there's so many things that could have led up to that point. Like the Yankees could have beat the Astros, even though it wasn't on their advantage. But I mean, it happened, and it just kind of sucks. But so looking forward, I was looking forward to this new season. And like Cam kind of hit it on it earlier. Like, in your opinion, like I was always curious, like what people thought of what stadiums were going to be like, especially in the Bronx in New York with all the booing, probably. How many people were going to get hit, and how many players were. If the umpires were even going to eject the players, like if they were to get hit, like what do you guys think on all that?
I mean, I think if like you're an umpire, like you have to just pretend that like you're not like hating the Astros. Like you just have to like call it as fair as you can. Like if you see intentional hitting, like you're probably gonna have to eject the person. But I definitely think there would have been a couple potential brawls for the Astros this season.
So, I don't know if it was Rob Manfred or the president of the Players Association, but one of them came out and said, I think it was Rob Manfred. He basically said if there's any intentional, like, throwing at a player of the Astros specifically or any player that was involved, they'll be suspended. So they already came out and said that before the season. So, there could just be the case of, you can't prove that I was intentionally trying to throw it in, So I was just trying to throw a fastball inside or a slider that didn't break. So it just – that's what like I said, I would have loved to see that, but it might still happen. I think it'll have – it's already died down because I think, like I said, a lot of people just want to play baseball now.
I think as far as umpires goes, they just have to call the game like they normally would. Like, it's kind of, up to that. It's like their opinion almost. If you see something pretty intentional, then, you have the right to eject somebody. Or, if it was just, a brush off pitch, something like that. Because pitchers do, a million different things on the mound to throw off a batter, whether that's throwing it inside or, some chin music. It happens. Mm-hmm. It's just baseball.
So I just want to put this in here real quick. So I did just find an interesting stat. I was just looking at my Instagram real quick, and a page just posted strikeout percentages for the Astros between 2013 and 2017. And we'll start off with 2016. Their strikeout percentage over the entire year was 23.4%. And then in 2017 after that, their strikeout percentage was only 17.3%. So you go from almost last in the league to first in the league in your strikeout percentage.
What was it in 2015? Like, what did they go 2015 to 2015?
So 2013 was 25.5, 2014 was 23.8, 2015 22.9, 2016 23.4. So it went up from 2015 to 2016, and then 2016 to 2017 it was a huge drop.
It's like they knew what was coming.
Statistical fact.
that part of me thinks now that that's a reason why they even started this camera thing, because they were sick of striking out a lot
and losing a season. But yeah.
Well, I mean, it's crazy because like they really rebuilt it from being one of the consistently worst teams to now a top ranking team, and it's just kind of crazy to me, like how does why we're even talking about this. But like what do you think would have happened to the Astros during this season? Like, do you think they would have went on like Jose Altuve, so they would have went back to the World Series? What do you guys think would have happened?
I think that at some point, I think like Springer and Altuve and like Bregman, because they're all like really good athletes, like Darian said. So they would have gotten back into a groove. I don't think they would have been MVP level, but I still think they would have been a playoff team. Like they still have, a really good squad. It's just, you take away that advantage, and then as a player, you basically just have to say, all right, I just have to go back to my basics, get in the groove, and then go. You're just going to have the ups and downs of any baseball player's season, because we've all had it. I mean, you get in a slump and you're like, what am I doing that I need to fix? You fix it and then try to move on and try to do better. And I think that's just what would have happened for them.
I think they still would have been, a really good team. But again, every game they play, they're going up against a team that has a chip on their shoulder now. So you're pretty much getting every team's best every day, regardless if it's their number one or their fourth guy in the rotation. Every team's going to play to win because of what happened.
Yeah. I mean, I think the one thing that, this doesn't really take away from the Astros, their pitching was also really good during that run.
Phenomenal.
And their pitching, I mean, they didn't cheat at all. See, that's another reason where it's stripping the World Series. So then you're taking that away from Justin Verlander, who at the same time has been excellent in his craft for how long and worked so long to get there. And he didn't have a buzzer or anything like that. And then you're going to take that away from someone like him at the same way. But I still think that they would have been a playoff team.
No, those are all really good points, and I agree. I do think they would have been a playoff team. I think I would have been more interested to see, when we talked about it a little earlier, players with chips on their shoulders, Trevor Bauer. He has a YouTube channel, which Mike Clevenger was on, that I put that link in for what he said. It's called Momentum. But Trevor Bauer, that dude's, he has a good mind on his head, and or he has a good mindset, and I think he would have definitely started stuff being on the Reds. I think he would have tried to start some fights going forward. But
I mean, he calls it how he sees it, man. He calls it how he sees it.
Which is that's why how I even want this channel to be. I just love how honest they are with that. Like Marcus Stroman's another one. Dude's an absolute beast. I love all these big top name pitchers. I like Mike Clevenger. I love their mindset, calling it how they see it. I mean, you can't ask for anything more,
I remember the specific video he tweeted out. He quote tweeted the video and literally wrote an entire paragraph saying, I remember pitching this day and thinking why aren't these guys swinging? And in the video, it has little text that pops up. It says, listen, right here. That's when you can hear the bangs. I had to put my AirPods in to hear it, but at the same time, when you listen really close, it's clear as day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think the very first video that came out, I forget who it was pitching, but you can hear the bang, and he even stopped maybe a couple pitches after that, and he was like, dude, they know my pitches. I don't know what to do here.
He figured it out. So it was against not the Raiders, the Athletics. So that was the first video that kind of surfaced.
Yeah.
So I forget who was pitching, but he was throwing some nasty changeups, and he, every time it was against. There was one against Gaddis, the dude, right, Evan Gaddis. Evan Gaddis, and he was up against him, and he was not swinging at any of his changeups. And you can hear the bang; it's clear as day. You don't even have to wear headphones for that one. And then, probably 3 or 4 pitches into it, then he changed it up to the sign with the catchers. Hey, something's going on. So
yeah, he called a timeout after that, and was dude, they can hear it. He's pointing.
Well, I think the most amazing stat that I saw was the game against Kershaw, when Kershaw threw 51 curveballs and sliders, not one swing and miss, not one. So I think that goes to show you what was really going on, because Kershaw is one of the most dominant pitchers in baseball.
That was this World Series, or this the last not the year before, the 2018 World Series, because it was the 2018 World Series. They at Dodger Stadium, he was lights out with the slider. Their strikeout percentage or swing and miss percentage was monumental against the slider and the changeup or the curveball. And then at Minute Maid Park, it was 0%. They didn't swing in a single one. So that's
and I mean Clayton Kershaw, obviously, like Darian said, one of the best to ever do it. His curveballs are absolutely disgusting. So the fact that like they hit those, I mean, anyone could hit a time, sometimes, but like consistently, that's insane. Not missing one of them. But do you think you can compare this to someone using PEDs? Like I just saw something interesting with Barry Bonds, and they were like, out of all these like people who use steroids, like, who do you think should be entered into the Hall of Fame? And like, I mean, even you can even put this up with Pete Rose, because personally, I think Pete Rose should be in the Hall of Fame. But that's just my personal opinion. But and that can be another segment some other day. But do you think this level of what happened, do you think that can be compared to that stuff?
I think you can compare it to PEDs. I think it's worse than what Pete Rose did. So like that's where I agree with you. But I think if like you break it down, it'd be like the whole team maybe taking PEDs, because PEDs, you just give yourself an unfair competitive advantage that the other players don't have if they follow the rules. But if every player on your team has that unfair competitive advantage when they come into the batter's box,
I think it's pretty close. I think you should. It's one-on-one. PEDs is cheating. Using camera in the outfield is cheating. That's my opinion.
Yeah, you can't really compare it to the Pete Rose situation, but yeah, totally agree. You can definitely say this is like PEDs. That's why, like Darian, you said earlier, you get a half year suspension, 82 games when you get caught with PEDs. So, you got to compare it to that. I personally do think like the whole Pete Rose thing is ridiculous too, that he's still banned from baseball because he bet on some games that he wasn't even a part of.
And he bet on his own team to win.
Yeah, he always bet on his team to win. So like that's what I don't understand about that.
Like if anything, more motivation.
Seriously, like come on, guys! I have money riding on this game. I mean, obviously, betting is not smart.
Come on,
yeah, guys, I have 5G on this. But like, I mean, part of me, like, what makes me laugh with the whole Astros thing is like, well, one, what made them think that banging a trash can was the best option to go with that? Because like, I mean, their mindset was probably like, oh, there's fans in attendance, like. Someone could drop anything, but using the camera in the outfield, and then I don't know if you guys saw that. I forget what documentary it was on, but I guess the camera crew who was following one of the games during the 2017 season, they went behind
during the World Series, I think.
Yeah, and they like went behind, and like you could see clear as day the TV that they were using to see the pitches, but like I mean, no one thought about that, like. I just
set up the guy that's back there yelling, "Hey, it's gonna be a fastball."
That's exactly what it is. Like you gotta wonder, like, what their mindset was going through all that. Like, how do they not think that was not gonna get caught?
Just like looking back, I just still can't believe that someone didn't pick it up. Like umpires, like if you can hear it on a camera or like a TV stream. Like how do you not notice that during the time?
I think is like they probably didn't assume that it was to the level that it was, so they were probably like, oh, like the Astros players are just picking up on some tendency here and trying to yell at their teammate.
Maybe.
I'm pretty sure that's not like against the rules. Like I don't think it's encouraged, but I don't think it's like.
If you think about it, how many people can be in Minute Maid Park? There's tens of thousands of people there talking, doing whatever. Who's really going to pay attention to an ambient sound of a trash can being hit? That could technically be anything in the park.
Yeah, and you could say like oh, they're just picking up my signs. Like, wasn't it? I don't know if it was with the Astros. I forget what pitcher, but they like said that. Oh, it was Tyler Snell possibly. Or Blake Snell. I don't know. I forget who it was. Or but I forget. They said that like I'm pretty sure the Astros were like, yeah, we like he's easy to read or something like that. Like they like he has like a natural tendency like if he's gonna throw a curveball.
No. That was Tyler Glasnow. That was during that was during the divisional series because he was
Glasnow.
Yeah, he was when he was throwing fastball. He's a lefty, so he was throwing fastball, he was up here, and then when he was throwing curveball, it was down here. So they figured it out early and scored 3 runs, and then had Verlander, and it was done.
Right, and something like that is, just you paying attention to the game, because anytime that we were playing, I as a hitter and now as a coach, I try to look for tendencies a lot more than I did when I was a player. But those are things that you pick up pretty quick if you just pay attention.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that stuff is just. I feel like that was like, oh, we got away with it. They're just really good at picking it up. I mean, obviously that's not the case, but do you guys think that other teams cheat and just didn't get caught yet?
Yes.
I don't know
What do you
if
guys?
teams cheated to the extent of the Astros. If anybody, it could be the Red Sox if Cora was like the mastermind behind that operation. But I can't imagine other teams cheated to that fullest extent, and the Astros are the only ones that had like success to that level. But I would assume that this season, even had not everything happened, nobody would be cheating out of just fear of getting caught.
It would have been the most honest year.
I think everybody cheats to some extent. It's just whether or not you get caught. Because if you look at the NFL and look at the Patriots, and they got caught doing it, but you hear things all the time of other teams doing, suspicious things, but never really comes to light, But I don't know. I think everybody cheats to some extent. It just doesn't always get, thrown in, the fire.
Yeah, I forget who it was. I don't know if it was Trevor Bauer or Mike Clevenger, but he said like if Major League Baseball just kept looking into this and kept going deeper and deeper, they were going to find so much garbage. And that's why I think they didn't want to do that. So you just go for the people that they know of and just kind of sweep the rest under the rug. And
well, yeah, I mean, you can, people got caught with pine tar, or pitchers, like you put a sticky substance to get traction on the ball. Like there's little things here and there. But another impressive thing that I don't think anyone's really mentioned is like, I mean, I don't know about you guys, like, I'm surprised someone was not like no one spilled the beans up until November of 2019. Like how keeping a secret that long, not even slipping in an interview. You know what I mean? Like how does that how do you not like accidentally mention something like that?
Well,
or
I think something like that is kept like that out of fear. Like we said earlier, what was his name? Mike Fears.
Mike Fear.
He's no longer on the team. So like he's no longer technically affiliated with the team anymore. So he probably felt comfortable enough and ballsy enough to come out with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, and then especially since they did win, it's fear of having that being taken away from you.
Right.
Yeah, obviously they had to know something was going on. And with Mike Fear, I wonder what happened to him like after all this. Like I wonder if like no Astros players from that year talk to him now. I wonder if he's still friends with any of those people. That's just a curious question in my point.
If I'm Mike, I wouldn't care.
You wouldn't care?
Nope.
What would you the Dylan and Cam, what would you do like if you were, or even Darian, like if you were in Astros position and you got told on, or if you were his position and you told, like in those situations, like what would you guys hope for, the best or worst, I guess?
I mean, I'm assuming your relationships with those people are built by more than just baseball if you're still friends with them 2 years later, not being on the same team. But if you're Mike, then you have to think, like, at that point, how many friends do you still have on the Astros? Like a handful at most. And those friendships are built off of more than just baseball. And you'd hope that they're not going to not be your friend anymore. But if they're not, then like I feel like if you're Mike, you're like, well, that's your true character, I guess, then. And if you're the Astros players, again, I think the same thing. If you were friends with him at that point, then you were friends with him for more than just baseball. And like you shouldn't just get him out of your life because he didn't feel great about cheating anymore.
Mm-hmm. Cam, what do you think?
Excuse me. Yeah, I just think that like with the whole Mike Fear situation, I like debate this all the time when I think about what, like, especially when this was going on, I was debating this. It's like, how would an Astros player feel, like Jose Altuve or George Springer? Like, they probably have some resentment for him because he spilled the beans. You know, he let the cat out of the bag, and I would think that not everyone on the Astros has poor feelings towards him, but I would think that the guys that especially were involved in it definitely have some resentment towards him, and stuff like that. Yeah. So
Yeah, maybe people who are more in the limelight.
Yeah.
I think cheating regardless. I think cheating regardless of any situation, whether it's in sports, life, relationships, stuff like that. Like, that's just like for me, that's a big no. And like I said earlier, I give him props, for, coming out and, finally telling the world what really happened that year and in the years to come after that. So that's my opinion. So.
Yeah, I mean, I 100% agree with that. Like, in life, just be honest, like you said, relationships and whatnot. I mean, I even wonder if Mike Fears even confronted maybe some players from that team that maybe he was close with, and it was like, yo, I'm about to say this. Like I wonder if he even confronted people, because I feel like that, like, such a big decision like that. Like, I'm just curious if he did that,
I'm sure, like, if he was still good friends with them, he did. If he was like, if he was like, guys, like, I don't know, like, say he was friends with just a couple of guys on the team, because I'm guessing that's all it was at that point. He's like, guys, like, this is tearing me apart. Like, I can't, like, live with this.
Yeah, and I feel like some people are like, maybe respect that, because like that was such a big decision, and I don't know, it's just crazy. But have you guys lost respect for the Astros? I mean, I know that people like Jose Altuve, they were looked up so much, and they were, they built themselves into a true powerhouse team that, like, is dominant every year now. Like, so have you guys lost respect for them?
For sure.
Oh yeah.
Because
100%.
They're willing to do that, knowing what it does to other players, because, I mean, like, they've been playing baseball for a while. Like, they know how much work goes into it, and they know that everyone else in the league is trying just as hard as them, and then they're going and doing cheating methods. Just, I mean, and being successful at it, and just taking those things away from people and giving themselves an unfair advantage where no matter how much work you put in, no matter how great your pitchers are, I'm going to know when not to swing, so it doesn't really matter. And then it's just like, we're going to keep winning. And nobody was going to say anything because it's been 2 years, and then somebody finally said something. So I don't necessarily believe any of those Astros players would have come out and said something.
Mm-hmm. Cam, what do you think?
No, I don't think any of them would say anything either. So yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah, I've totally lost a lot of respect for most of those guys. I mean, I still respect them as the fact that they're, professional athletes, but at the same time, the whole cheating thing is just a no-go.
Yeah, I personally can't look at them the same anymore, even though, like, I love the big like players like George, Alex Bregman, Jose, and Carlos Correa. Like, Carlos Correa, he was on my fantasy team. I don't think I'll ever draft a fantasy or an Astros player for the time being. I don't think I'll draft any of those people in my fantasy team.
Still draft Verlander.
Verlander, yeah, but I could even see fans going to, well, if there was a season like with fans, I can even see them banging on the big trash cans that everyone throws their food in. Like, I can see some stupid people think of some creative ways to piss them off as the year going along.
I mean, I think if you look at it as, let's just put like Jose, just put him in the front for right now for this scenario. Jose Altuve is 5'6", 5'7" on a good day. I don't know what he weighs, but baseball is, it's not really a size game, but when you're 5'6", there's you have a lot of challenges in front of you in baseball, and I'm sure
100%.
a lot of smaller kids around the country and around the world looked up to him, and the fact that someone that his size and stature can play Major League Baseball, and now he's associated with cheating. So
Yeah.
I'm sure the world has lost, a decent amount of respect towards him.
I think it's like a similar fandom to like what Steph Curry had, because you have all these like huge, like freakishly athletic people dominating the NBA, and then like Steph Curry's not really short, but like he kind of is from the NBA at 6'3", but then he's like this scrawny guard, 6'3", like doesn't really look super athletic, and then just
kills it.
The league for 2 years, back-to-back MVP. And not only is he doing that, but he's doing it exactly how everyone would want to, by just pulling up from ridiculous ranges and drilling every time. Altuve is that role model for people that don't have that great build, like you said, and then now it's like, oh, maybe that's why he was so good.
Cam, what do you think? You got anything?
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree with Darian. Like, a lot of people looked up to Jose Altuve, and I know, like, as a coach especially, you look at the kid that's 5'5", 5'6", and then you look at the kid that's 6'3", especially in baseball, and you're more inclined to go possibly with the kid that's 6'3", just because of the size and the size potential. But then, one of my favorite baseball stories is how Jose Altuve got into the league. So he showed up to the camp, I don't know where, in Venezuela. Is that where he's from? Yeah. So he showed up to the Astros camp in Venezuela, whatever their program is there. And he said, I want to try out. And he got the first day, and then they said, go home. Like, after that, like, you're too small, all this, all that. He ended up showing up after that, and he said, no, you didn't give me a chance. Oh, no, they didn't even give him a chance. They said, no, you're too small, go away. And so he said, no, you didn't give me a chance. Like, I want a chance. And so finally, the biggest thing with Jose Altuve is there's a lot of good videos about his core strength, is that his core strength is ridiculous. Like, he packs so much power into his size and stature that's how he can hit moonshot home runs even. And he's so strong. His core is he's just got insane bat speed. So yeah, I mean, you lose respect for those guys, but at the same time, you're still, almost jealous because, they're major league players. But other than that, yeah, I'm kind of with everyone. I think we're all in agreement on the same stuff here.
Oh yeah, you definitely lose respect. And like, I mean, Marcus Stroman, he's another short guy, but he has this saying, height doesn't measure heart, HDMH. And like, I think that's a huge thing. And I feel like he's the new, I mean, besides now comparing him to Jose, I feel like he's the new, like, role model for like those kids are like, height really doesn't measure heart. Like, if you have heart to play the game, it's there. And so I feel, I do feel bad that, I mean, the Astros are going through the situation, but they also put themselves in that situation. So, any final thoughts before we end this?
Nope.
Just hope to see some baseball this year.
Yeah,
hope to see
some baseball.
Well, did you see Mike Trout's new situation? I don't know if you guys want to hit on that quick. Like, how I think it was he said that, like, he can't wait for baseball to come back, but like, there's a lot of red flags that still need to be cleared up.
Well, he doesn't want to do the Arizona League. Is
right, because he has a pregnant wife. Yeah, and I 100%
he doesn't want to
agree.
he doesn't want to be away from his pregnant wife. There's just you could probably pull half the league and it would be okay, but I think a lot of those guys just don't want to do it. I think honestly what they should do is you get whatever pool of players are okay with playing. It's kind of like how a lot of businesses that are staying open but aren't essential, like, for example, Best Buy. Armand, who was on the Bachelor episode, he can work at Best Buy but chooses not to, and so he still gets paid, but he's not doing that. So I think maybe you just make it a spring training, just exhibition games, just so people are playing, like, do something that.
I think maybe it's time, if you do something like that, then now it's time to rely on your farm system.
Right. I agree.
Start bringing up some guys that, low A, double A, the guys that you don't see too often. Start bringing them up. This is, probably their only time they're going to probably see, the big leagues. This is probably the right time, maybe.
Wow, that's a good point.
The only problem with like allowing players to play by their choice, right? But then like if you have like a World Series at the end, that counts.
That's
Just
what I mean. Like, they're just exhibition. Like, if you can't strike a deal for a regular season, you say, all right, we are going to – fans obviously want to see games. There are people that want to play – everyone wants to play baseball. But I agree. You know, there's a lot of red flags, and I think it all depends. You know, you can't really make a decision right now. Like, especially for myself, I manage one of the county league teams here in State College, and we're waiting to see what the state says about stay-at-home orders and social distancing. If we're allowed to do stuff this summer, we're going to play. But we can't make a decision until at least after May 1st. So I think everybody's just kind of in the same game where we have to wait. We have to continue social distancing, because I hear a lot of people talking. It's like, you know, oh, this isn't super serious. You know, I mean, it is, but it isn't serious. But, you know, like, look at how many people die compared to heart disease and the flu. And it's like, okay, well, if we did nothing, we didn't social distance, those would have skyrocketed. The deaths and all of this would have skyrocketed compared to the flu and all these other things, because it's just so quick. So I think, everybody's, you know, we've been doing such a good job of, for the most part, in most states, except for, you know, highly dense populations like New York City. I think, we're all just in a waiting game. So we need to just wait it out.
Yeah, my friend brought up a good point last night when I was playing video games with him, and I don't know, this is just completely off the record of anything sports now related, but he talked about he's like literally if everyone was issued to stay in their house for like literally 2 weeks, he was like, this would be all gone. But at the same time, you have to think about the people who need to be treated, people need to, you know, who need to go out and get food. Like, it's so hard to factor all that in, but I don't know. What do you guys think on that?
Oh man. I mean, so as like someone who's studied a lot of like health and like, cause in my role as like being in a kinesiology major at Penn State, I don't have a lot of like information about infectious diseases, but it's really easy to pick up on the stuff that they're talking about in the national media right now, especially coming from the CDC. Yeah, if we stayed at home, everybody stayed at home for 2 weeks. If we just froze time for 2 weeks, it would go away. But it's just not possible. There's not enough people, I think, that would follow it. Because you can say, say stay at home, but how do you enforce it? You don't have enough police.
There's two people I know who party, dude, and I'm like, what are you doing?
It's ridiculous. I mean, there's friends that I know that still go out and hang out at their friend's house. It's like, you need to stop. We're fortunate that we're in an area that you're probably more likely than not to get it, but you still need to be safe. Like, you know, you're breaking rules. Congratulations. But I think that it's really showing like the true colors of what people believe in, and like morality wise, I think.
I think today is officially like 1 month here in at least State College that we can't really do anything.
Stay at home, yeah.
Oh wow, yeah. Damn,
I've been in my room for a month.
You're still working out and doing stuff, right?
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to bring home some equipment from our gym. So.
Oh yeah, you can still go there if you wanted to.
No, I can't.
Oh really?
Nope.
It's technically a business, yeah. So.
It's all pretty crazy. It's just like that whole everybody has to stay at home for 2 weeks thing. You have to like wonder like what kind of a toll that would take on people's like mental health too. Like I know we were talking about like people have to go.
I'm already going insane.
Oh yeah. I mean,
I'm losing my mind, man.
Like what if somebody just wanted to go out for a drive to clear their head?
Right.
I mean, it's
this guy.
I've done that, yeah.
I mean, it's coming to the point now where I think like we're gonna be okay. Like the curve that they're talking about, we're at the peak now for the most part. Different places are saying different things where so my mom works at the hospital, and they're predicting that the surge is going to happen April 30th
mid-May, I heard, or something like that.
Yeah, so I think we're at the peak of people contracting the virus because of social distancing, but the surge of people going to the hospital, yeah, like the hospital here is saying April 30th is now when the surge is going to happen, predicted wise. And then I think like Geisinger they've said even into August, like it could be bad. So yeah, I mean, people they really think that we're going to be back to normal by summer, and I got some bad news for you, buddy. We're in it for the long run, unfortunately. I mean, we're lucky that it's happening during the summer, though, right? Like spring, summer. Like, could you imagine if this happened in like November, December?
Oh,
Like,
yikes.
I'd kind of be all right with it because during that time I like to be in the house. So
yeah, but still, like,
sounds good to me.
Like, I agree, but it's like you think that, but then you still go places, like you still work, you still do all these other things. Like sometimes we go out to
me.
I heard of some major colleges even thinking about holding off until 2021. I was like, yo, that would be wild.
I feel like it's really early to call that now if you're in college, because like that's 4 months away from people moving in even.
I mean, I know Penn State is doing online classes all summer, so summer classes have all been moved to online. But
Arts Fest.
Oh yeah, Arts Fest is
Arts Fest better not be canceled, bro.
No, Arts Fest is gonna be canceled. There's no chance that Arts Fest happens. There is a you're saying there's a chance. Yeah, there's a 1 in a million chance that Arts Fest happens.
Actually, I heard the proper term is called Festival of the Arts. So get it right, guys.
Sorry, Adam. Festival of the Arts.
That's the out of town thing.
That's
the out of town thing. No, when I was doing my internship last year, that's what I heard. Someone corrected me because I said Arts Fest. But one more thing before we kind of end this call. How are your haircuts going? Is anyone growing out their hair?
That's why my hair is not in the shot.
I could use it.
That if anyone's watching this back up, you can see Darian's hair a little bit. He's growing it out.
I had to trim up the beard though. I was looking like a caveman. I had to trim it up a little bit.
Oh, mine's fine. My dad cuts my hair, so I'm not really affected by that.
Oh, you're solid then. Yeah, I can't get a haircut either. But yeah, is there any final thoughts on anything before we end this call?
Oh man.
Go Yankees.
Cool. So yeah, go Phillies. But so we went on a limb, and now you take a branch and do something different, or just be yourselves. Peace.